this video, you're going to be introduced to the simple yet very diverse single-celled organisms we call prokaryotes. And by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to describe what makes prokaryotic cells unique. Although millions of diverse species live on Earth, and many of those organisms contain literally trillions of different cells, every cell falls into one of two basic categories. A eukaryotic cell, your first vocab word, has a central control structure called a nucleus, which contains the cell's DNA. Organisms composed of eukaryotic cells are called eukaryotes. This term eukaryote comes from the Greek words for good and kernel, which refer to that nucleus. A prokaryotic cell doesn't have a nucleus. Its DNA simply resides in the cytoplasm. An organism consisting of a prokaryotic cell is called a prokaryote. All prokaryotes are one-celled organisms, and they're invisible to the naked eye, so you would need a microscope in order to see them. So there are just two groups of prokaryotes that exist. One you're familiar with, bacteria, are prokaryotes, and the other is archaea. Now, all the other organisms that exist, those are all eukaryotes. But the largest group of prokaryotes is the bacteria. And bacteria are actually involved in a lot of critical biological processes that can affect human health in very important ways. Bacteria like the E. coli bacteria live in your intestine, and they help your body make some essential vitamins. But there are other strains of E. coli as well as some other bacteria species that are responsible for some of the illnesses that we suffer. Streptococcus pyogenes is one example that causes strep throat. Some archaea may be a bit less familiar to you. These are microorganisms that inhabit some of the harshest environments on Earth, and they thrive in extremes of things like temperature and salinity, which is the salt content, and pH. There are four basic structural features of prokaryotes, and we're going to go over those here. The first structural feature of a prokaryote that we'll talk about is the plasma membrane, and it encompasses the cell, or simply it's called sometimes the cell membrane. Anything inside the plasma membrane is referred to as intracellular, and everything that we find outside the plasma membrane we call extracellular. The second feature is the cytoplasm, which refers to the cell's contents contained within the plasma membrane. This includes the jelly-like fluid called the cytosol, as well as the cell's genome. The third structural feature are the ribosomes, and these are little granular bodies where proteins get made. Thousands of them are scattered throughout the cytoplasm. The last structural feature of prokaryotes is that each prokaryote has one or more circular loops or linear strands of DNA. Some prokaryotes have additional structures. For example, many have a rigid cell wall that protects and gives the shape to the cell. Others have sticky, sugary capsules as their outermost layer. This sticky outer coat provides protection and enhances the prokaryote's ability to anchor themselves in place whenever necessary. In addition, there are a lot of prokaryotes that have a flagellum. This is a long, thin, whip-like projection of the plasma membrane, and they can rotate it like a propeller, and it helps to move the cell, the prokaryote, through the medium in which it lives, whether it's water or what have you. Other appendages, like pili, are much thinner hair-like projections that help the prokaryote attach to surfaces, and can also serve as tubes through which they can exchange DNA. Now, although prokaryotes are smaller and structurally more simple than the eukaryotes that we're going to learn about next, they are fantastically diverse metabolically. What I mean by that is the way that they break down and build up other molecules is very diverse. Among many other energy usage innovations that occur in bacteria, some can actually fuel their activities in the presence or absence of oxygen. And depending on the type of bacteria, It can actually use an extremely wide range of molecules as an energy source, such as the sulfur in deep sea hydrothermal vents, or even hydrogen gas or light from the sun.